Don't let Su Wenjing's innocent-looking face and blinking cute big eyes fool you. Her IQ is always online, and one sentence from her is enough to make He Qingwan want to spit blood. And Li Qiao contentedly patted Su Wenjing's head. My little Jingjing is getting smarter and smarter. She even knows how to infer things now. I'll give you a raise when we get back. The two chatted and laughed, seemingly ignoring He Qingwan, but in reality, they had already thoroughly shredded her with their words, so much so that even he couldn't help but crack a faint smile. Huh? You smiled. And Li Qiao exclaimed, her eyes wide as she looked at Hiyu, as if she discovered something. Wow, so you can smile, Hiyu. Nonsense. She was, after all, a person with normal emotions. Although her personality was a bit more reserved, how could she not smile? Please don't treat her like a monster, okay? How could she know that with her inherent aura, anyone unfamiliar with her would think she was emotionless, wouldn't smile when happy, wouldn't cry when sad? And Li Qiao then added, you look beautiful when you smile. Smile more often in the future. If you're afraid of wrinkles, I'll cover all your skincare and beauty products. He resisted the urge to twitch her lips, nodding to Li Qiao in greeting. Excuse me, I need to go on stage now. And Li Qiao waved her hand magnanimously. Go on, go on. I'm rooting for you. You're the most dazzling new star. If Li Qiao weren't a woman, he would absolutely suspect she was trying to flirt with her. At least among all the women she'd met, there had never been anyone like this. It was truly strange. Yet, she didn't dislike this person at all, even growing to like her more and more, which was the strangest part. It was like an enchantment, making her feel a little apprehensive. Pushing thoughts of Li Qiao aside for now, Hugh emerged from backstage and finally stood on the T-stage. This was the battlefield she had striven for months to face. Originally, once on stage, she had only thought about the competition and had completely forgotten Mu Qianfan. But with her first glance at the audience, she instantly spotted that familiar figure in the crowd. He had really come, and he was watching her from the audience. As their eyes met across such a long distance, she felt she saw the slight curve of his lips, because she sensed he was smiling. This was truly just a feeling. Hiyu's height was truly advantageous. Normally, in a crowd and dressed plainly, she might seem out of place, but on this stage, she appeared even more unique. She truly possessed an inherent aura. Her untainted temperament not only overshadowed those who were gaudy and flashy, but also exuded a powerful sense of presence. This was her commanding aura. Moreover, she not only possessed beautiful looks but also a heroic spirit rarely seen in women. Coupled with a naturally dignified and striking appearance, she would be no less impressive even on an international stage. The mole at the corner of her lip, at first glance, seemed to detract from her beauty, but upon closer inspection, one would pleasantly discover that it was her unique mark, something ordinary people couldn't even imitate. Unlike He Qingwan, Hiyu, though also seeing Mu Qianfan was only positively affected, for him, she would strive to be perfect and never let him be disappointed in her. Thus, from the audience, Mu Qianfan watched her perfectly execute all movements and expressions. Not only was there not a single mistake, but her performance was practically textbook level. He knew she was suited for this line of work. He had never misjudged her. It was only a matter of whether he was willing to let her be in the public eye, but since it was what she wanted, he would do his best to fulfill it. The audience was very quiet, surprisingly so. Everyone was intently staring at the models on stage, and even though there were so many models, almost all of them were looking at Hiyu. Even Li Junyi was no exception. Li Junyi had already seen He Qingwan's performance, and while he thought it was decent at the time, it wasn't particularly impressive. Now, seeing Hiyu again, two words suddenly flashed in his mind. Stunning. Indeed, he was captivated by this woman he had never truly understood, hadn't even been willing to properly look at, and had only given the title of girlfriend to just to get her body. Seeing Hiyu walk on the T-stage, Li Junyi actually felt a sense of suffocation. She was beautiful enough to take his breath away. Why had he never noticed before how stunning Hiyu was when dressed up? It was because Hiyu neither liked to dress herself up nor was willing to cling to him like He Qingwan, using her body to gain what she wanted: money, fame, and status. Mu Qianfan also liked this kind of Hiyu, confident, beautiful. But since she had stepped onto that stage, it was inevitable that she would be seen by more other men, and this made him very displeased. He looked around and, without surprise, saw certain gazes that weren't just admiring Hiyu but also held ulterior motives for her. Among them was Li Junyi, and this instantly infuriated him. Unfortunately, Li Junyi wished he could glue his eyes onto Hiyu and paid no mind to being stared at by Mu Qianfan. He didn't even notice until Hiyu's performance ended and she left the stage. Still unsatisfied, he pinched his chin, beginning to ponder how to get Hiyu without affecting his relationship with He Qingwan. If worst came to worst, he could discard He Qingwan first. He'd secure He Yu, and then decide. Although he liked He Qingwan, she was easy to get. A few sweet words and some money would guarantee she'd eagerly cling to him and continue to sleep with him. Li Junyi increasingly wanted He Yu. He had truly coveted that body for a long time. But while he was still fantasizing, Mu Qianfan in the audience, however, couldn't sit still. He went straight backstage to find He Yu, but seeing Yulua was also present, he didn't reveal himself and just watched He Yu from afar. The competition was scheduled to last all day, so Mu Qianfan waited for He Yu all day. When it finally ended and He Yu successfully won the championship, he couldn't wait any longer and immediately had Wen Jin arrange their departure. Wen Jin's efficiency was simply incredible. With one phone call from Mu Qianfan, she quickly made all arrangements. As a result, He Yu, the champion, was whisked away without even encountering a single reporter. Those poor reporters had prepared a whole bunch of questions for her, but then the runner-up emerged, then the third-place winner, and even those who hadn't placed, but He was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, He was in Mu Qianfan's car, driven by Wen Jin. As an assistant, she held multiple roles, practically omnipotent, but with great power came great responsibility. He had first received a call from Mu Qianfan and only saw him after getting into the car. Seeing his gloomy face and silence, she was very puzzled. I won the competition, aren't you happy? Mu Qianfan raised his eyes to glance at He Yu, then turned his head to look out the car window, saying with an extremely awkward tone, happy. Just 2 words. He Yu could neither see happiness in his gloomy expression nor hear it in his awkward tone. Instead, she felt he was angry. Thinking of his sudden business trip a few days ago, after which they almost lost contact, and now seeing his current expression, although it was somber, it really wasn't good. So, He Yu assumed he was having trouble at work and carefully asked, what's wrong? Has the Jinghai matter not been resolved yet? Did I delay your work? No, nothing. Mu Qianfan was sparing with words, still looking out the window, only offering He Yu's profile. Then what exactly is wrong? Is there something I did wrong that's making you so unhappy? He Yu became anxious. She didn't want to see Mu Qianfan so displeased. My wife was gawked at. Mu Qianfan finally uttered a complete sentence. Those men were all staring at her, wishing they could devour her instantly. Screech. The car slammed on its brakes, almost getting rear-ended by the car behind. Wen Jin's heart nearly jumped out of her chest. Young master, are you trying to scare people to death? You suddenly say something like that while I'm driving. Even I, who grew up with you, find this unbearable. He Yu. After all that talk, it turned out he was so awkward because she had been watched on stage today. But wasn't that to be expected? Her fashion show was precisely for people to watch. When Jean adjusted her mindset, and coincidentally, the car's speed. She gripped the steering wheel tightly, determined not to be startled again the next time the young master said something shocking. Mu Qianfan put on a wounded expression, turning back to look at He Yu. I don't like their gazes. Especially that damned Li Junyi. Seeing him made me want to kill. He Yu took a deep breath to maintain her composure. Didn't you also look at other women? Mu Qianfan retorted indignantly. My eyes are only on you. I didn't see any other women. Only a bunch of sows in clothes. He was torn between laughter and tears. She took Mu Qianfan's hand and softly comforted him. All right, you didn't see them. So, I won't go on any more fashion shows, okay? Mu Qianfan's eyes lit up. Really? He Yu nodded solemnly. As long as you're happy. Anyway, the competition is over and my goal has been achieved. He Qingwan didn't win the championship. She didn't even know why, but seeing Mu Qianfan unhappy made her feel a lump in her chest. Even her breathing seemed to become difficult. It seemed that after receiving that bouquet today, then Mu Qianfan's message, and finally looking up the meaning of those flowers online, her heart had quietly changed. The name Mu Qianfan, upon seeing the words, my love, my wife, on her phone, was deeply imprinted on her heart, and the man himself had also moved in. So when she said this, her mind was solely on Mu Qianfan, completely forgetting that she had a contract with her company as a model. It wasn't something she could just quit. As long as you're happy. These simple 7 characters made Mu Qianfan freeze. Had he really said that to him? Why did it feel so unreal? Since when did she start caring if he was happy? Seeing Mu Qianfan's slight frown, He quickly asked, are you still unhappy like this? Mu Qianfan didn't answer, instead asking He Yu, do you like being a model? He Yu thought for a moment. It's not about liking or disliking it. I'm just trying my best to do something I decided to do. Everyone has to take responsibility for their own actions. This was how she approached work and also marriage. Otherwise, how could she have agreed to move in immediately after a flash marriage with a stranger? Because agreeing to marry was her own decision, she naturally had to take responsibility for her actions, and marriage was her responsibility, including this man. Mu Qianfan sighed softly. Although I really dislike you being watched by other men, I have to admit, you are beautiful on stage, so beautiful it takes my breath away. Hiyu gave an embarrassed smile. Am I really that beautiful? Mu Qianfan nodded solemnly. Truly beautiful. It's not just your appearance, but your entire aura, your confidence, your temperament, and your personal charm. Hiyu's face flushed from the compliments. It's not that good. You're just seeing it through a lover's eyes. Realizing what she had just said, Hiyu quickly shut her mouth, swallowing the rest of her words. She lowered her head, not daring to face Mu Qianfan, feeling her face and earlobes burn. Mu Qianfan, whose hand was already held by Hiyu, now turned his hand to clasp hers, then gently pulled, drawing her into his embrace. He lowered his head and chuckled softly. I like this confident and beautiful you. Hiyu secretly glanced at Wenjin in front, and seeing that she hadn't turned around, she boldly tilted her head up and kissed Mu Qianfan's cheek, whispering, Thank you for your affection and companionship. Mu Qianfan leaned down and whispered into Hiyu's ear, Just thanks. The warm breath on Hiyu's neck tickled a little, so she snuggled further into Mu Qianfan's embrace. What kind of thanks do you want? As long as I can do it, I'll definitely satisfy you. I want you. Mu Qianfan deliberately paused, then continued, For a lifetime. Mu Qianfan's kiss was dominant, yet it still left Hiyu intoxicated and lost. The new talent competition was over, but there was still a charity gala tomorrow night, which Hiyu, as the champion, had to attend, so she temporarily had to remain in Qinghua City. Hiyu didn't know where Mu Qianfan was taking her, but she didn't care at all. As long as he was by her side, she was willing to follow him even to the ends of the earth. But just as their passionate kiss was getting intense, tormenting the driver Wenjin to the point of questioning life, Hiyu's phone suddenly rang. Mu Qianfan naturally didn't want Hiyu to answer the phone at that moment, but Hiyu immediately took out her phone, and he just happened to see the name on the caller ID. Director Yang. Those 3 words were practically Mu Qianfan's curse. Whether he saw them or heard them, his heart immediately soured, and his jealousy shattered into a million pieces. He recalled how, in order to rush here in time to accompany Hiyu to the competition, he had almost pushed Sun Ming to his wit's end, and Sun Ming was still refusing to talk to him, saying he wanted to be left alone. During the days he was cooperating with treatment, most of the messages he received from him were actually sent by Sun Ming, so they were words meant to reassure her. Even so, he ultimately couldn't make it in 3 days, only rushing over just before the start of the show today, almost missing the competition, but he did make it in the end. However, he was completely unaware of Mu Qianfan's complex internal monologue. Seeing it was a call from Yang Yi, she immediately abandoned Mu Qianfan to answer. Hello, Director Yang. Yang Yi was clearly displeased, his tone filled with accusation. Hiyu, where did you go? Do you still want to make a career for yourself? Do you have any idea how many reporters are waiting for you? Hiyu glanced at the suddenly awkward Mu Qianfan and said with full resignation, I'm sorry, I really didn't know. I had something to do, so I already left. Yang Yi was already overwhelmed by reporters, and hearing Hiyu sound so nonchalant, he immediately flared up. What do you mean by this? Just because you won the championship, you think you're hot stuff, right? He was startled by Yang Yi's voice and opened her mouth to explain, Director, I'm not. But Yang Yi unceremoniously interrupted her. You haven't done anything yet, and your tail is already wagging sky high. Do you not even want to go to tomorrow night's charity gala? Do you want someone to personally invite you? The words were a bit harsh, and Hiyu's face also fell. If Director can let me not go tomorrow night, I'd be very grateful. This made Yang Yi even angrier. Hiyu, did winning a championship make you forget who you are? The company spent so much manpower, material resources, and financial resources not for you to play around. Mu Qianfan was right next to Hiyu. Although the speakerphone wasn't on, the car was so quiet that he could still hear some of it, and his expression was beyond ugly. That bastard dared to lecture his wife. Unforgivable. How much manpower, material, and financial resources Hiyu had spent for the company. Was that even his business now? Meddler. Mu Qianfan snatched Hiyu's phone, opened the car window, and was about to throw it out. Seeing this, Hiyu quickly grabbed Mu Qianfan's hand. That's my phone. Mu Qianfan's face was as dark as Bao Zhang's. It doesn't matter. I can buy you as many phones as you want. On the other end of the line, Yang Yi. Did he just hear a man's voice on the other side of the phone? And Hiyu hadn't talked to him at all anymore. Did she abandon the reporters just to meet this man? Hiyu quickly snatched back her phone, and seeing it was still on call, she hurriedly hung up. Her heart was still in a knot, wondering what Yang Yi had just heard. How would he see her now? But Mu Qianfan snatched the phone again, turned it off, and said to Wenjin, Wenjin, I'm leaving Yang Yi for you to handle. When we return to Linjiang, I want to see results. Wenjin quickly acknowledged, then silently lit a row of candles for Yang Yi in her heart. He had finally angered the young master. He should pray for his own good fortune, because she certainly wouldn't dare to go easy on him. He looked at her suddenly empty hand, thinking Mu Qianfan was still going to throw the phone, but the phone returned with Mu Qianfan's words, "From now on, your time belongs to me." What about Director Yang and those reporters? He felt quite apologetic towards Yang Yi. After all, he had placed high hopes on her and worked tirelessly to create opportunities for her, yet she was being so willful. Mu Qianfan said nonchalantly, "Since they like to wait, then let them wait. We can't deprive them of their fun. That would be too cruel." He put away her phone, unable to resist twitching the corner of her mouth. "Mr. Mu, where's your face?" Mu Qianfan reached out and wrapped an arm around Hiyu's waist, saying without changing his expression, "I was in such a hurry to come see you. I forgot to bring it." Still, she had to say, "Actually, Director Yang is a pretty good person. He's just doing his job. Don't be angry with him." Mu Qianfan dangerously narrowed his eyes. "So, you're pleading for another man?" Hiyu quickly shook her head. "No, I'm just stating facts. I believe Mr. Mu isn't someone who ignores facts. After all, harsh words are unpleasant to the ear but beneficial to one's conduct." Facing Hiyu's serious face, he finally chose to compromise. "Wen-jin, did you hear what my wife said? You handle it as you see fit." Wen-jin suppressed the urge to complain and nodded, responding, "Understood." The car drove all the way to the front of Tsinghua City's most luxurious hotel. Wen-jin went to park, while Mu Qianfan took Hiyu inside to rest. Both of them were tired after a busy day. Mu Qianfan held Hiyu as they lay on the large bed in the luxurious suite's bedroom, feeling his entire heart filled. Although he had possessed too many things that others could only dream of since childhood, he had never felt so content as he did at this moment. After a day of commotion, Hiyu was truly tired. Once she relaxed, she felt drowsy. Yawning, she asked Mu Qianfan, "Mr. Mu, aren't you afraid of squandering your fortune being so extravagant?" Mu Qianfan gently tightened his grip, pulling Hiyu closer. Smelling her sweet scent, he said contentedly, "It doesn't matter. Money is just an external possession. Having you is enough for me." In just that short time, he was already almost asleep, mumbling drowsily, "But I can neither be eaten nor worn. What good am I? Unless you let me support you." With Mu Qianfan by her side, Hiyu fell asleep peacefully, but her last lingering bit of consciousness still made her subconsciously mumble, "I'll support you." Hiyu fell asleep peacefully, but her last lingering bit of consciousness still made her subconsciously mumble, "I'll support you." And Li Qiao was on the phone with Hiyu. Given her status, getting Hiyu's number couldn't have been easier, but when she called, it went straight to voicemail. Listening to the automated female voice, and Li Qiao was so angry she wanted to smash her phone. "What's going on? Didn't she say she'd have dinner with me? Why is her phone off?" Su Wenjing furrowed her small brows. She didn't even meet the reporters. She disappeared as soon as the awards ended, leaving the reporters to wait in vain. "I bet tomorrow there'll be news of her acting like a diva." And Li Qiao tossed her phone, flopped backward, and lay sprawled out on the bed. "That's really not cool. I was going to introduce my brothers to her." Su Wenjing kindly reminded her, "Miss, did you consult the young masters before doing this?" The eldest young master said, "He doesn't meet just any woman." And Li Qiao rolled her eyes at the ceiling. "It's not like I'd let Big Brother meet just anyone, okay?" Su Wenjing continued. "The second young master said he doesn't want to look for a woman right now, and that you shouldn't worry unnecessarily. If you cause trouble, he'll have to clean it up." And Li Qiao pouted. "What right does someone who causes more trouble than I do have to criticize me? He's gotten the most scolding since childhood. He truly lives up to his status as the second child in that regard." Thinking of the unfortunate second young master who, due to his honesty, had become a professional scapegoat, Su Wenjing felt immense sympathy. The third young master said he likes men and hates unwanted romantic entanglements the most. And Li Qiao scoffed. "I've also said I like women before. He's not the only one who can come up with excuses like that. Am I that easy to fool?" Su Wenjing's expression suddenly turned serious, and she asked earnestly, "So, miss, are you really fond of Miss Hiyu and want her to be your sister-in-law?" And Li Qiao giggled, revealing her pearly white teeth. "If I say yes, do you think my brothers would beat me to death?" Su Wenjing shook her head. "How could the young masters bear to hit you? At most, they'd send you abroad, out of sight, out of mind, and then bring you back when they miss you." And Li Qiao sighed. "Oh, why don't I have any girlfriends? I don't even have anyone to talk to, and my brothers have led me astray." Su Wenjing rolled her eyes, wanting very much to complain internally. "Miss, you weren't led astray by the young masters. You simply don't like hanging out with women, okay? You always say women are too manipulative, that they have to take 18 detours to say something simple, leaving people confused and forcing them to spend effort analyzing what's truly meant." And these days, women are constantly being overly dramatic and unpleasant, acting one way to your face and another behind your back. Why can't they just say things directly instead of gossiping behind people's backs? What's truly unbearable is that women are so nitpicky, unlike men who are generous and uninhibited, not bothered by trivialities. It's both reassuring and enjoyable to get along with men without having to worry too much. He woke up hungry in the middle of the night. Opening her eyes, she saw Mu Qianfan lying beside her, watching her with his large, clear eyes. Under the warm light, Mu Qianfan looked like an incredibly noble prince. He was lying on his side, propped on his right hand, a smile playing on his lips. You had just woken up, her voice still a little hazy. What are you looking at? Mu Qianfan's handsome lips curved into a perfect arc. My wife. Hiyu yawned. What's so good about her? Mu Qianfan smiled and reached out to pull Hiyu. Get up and look in the mirror and you'll know. Hiyu yawned again, her eyes unfocused. But I'm so sleepy right now, I don't want to get up. Mu Qianfan looked at the sleepy-eyed Hiyu, feeling a surge of happiness, and simply picked her up. Aren't you hungry then? Gurgle. Hiyu's stomach rumbled cooperatively, and she had no choice but to admit. Hungry. Mu Qianfan supported the unsteady Hiyu. Then let's eat something, and you can go back to sleep. You've worked so hard these past few days. It was indeed very hard work. As a newcomer, she had to challenge such a large stage in just 3 months. How could the word tired even begin to describe it? Normally, with the pressure of the competition, Hiyu didn't feel particularly exhausted. But now that the mission was accomplished and she could relax, she felt too tired to even move. Or perhaps it was because she had someone by her side she could rely on, allowing her to lean on him with ease, a feeling she hadn't even discovered herself yet. She even unconsciously nestled into Mu Qianfan's arms, acting cute and spoiled. It's so late, I don't want to go out. Mu Qianfan looked amusedly at the person in his arms. No need to go out. I'll have them send supper in. Go take a shower first, when Jean has already brought your luggage. Hiyu had fallen asleep as soon as she returned, without showering or changing her clothes. It was a wonder she could even sleep. Only now did she realize that Mu Qianfan had already changed into his bathrobe, clearly having showered. Okay. Hiyu quickly went to her suitcase, found her pajamas, and plunged into the bathroom. Mu Qianfan took the opportunity to call Wenjin, asking her to prepare and send in supper. Poor Wenjin had just fallen asleep when she was woken up, and had to resignedly get up to make arrangements. After a hot bath, Hiyu didn't feel more awake. On the contrary, she grew even sleepier, almost falling asleep in the bathtub. So, she was very quiet while eating supper. So sleepy. Mu Qianfan felt both heartache and self-reproach. If he had known, he shouldn't have let her be a model. Hiyu struggled to keep her eyes open. The bath was too comfortable. Shall I feed you then? Before Mu Qianfan had even finished speaking, he had already brought the fork to Hiyu's mouth. No. Hiyu was about to refuse, but seeing Mu Qianfan already put his words into action, her heart stirred slightly, and she simply opened her mouth and bit into the foie gras on the fork. Is it good? Mu Qianfan watched the once aloof woman who kept everyone at arm's length finally transform into a sweet, adorable wife. He felt not only content, but also a sense of accomplishment. He was willing to spoil his woman into a queen in front of others and a little princess in front of him. This was to make up for her childhood and compensate for the past he couldn't be a part of. Hiyu had a very strange feeling, as if something was missing, yet at the same time, something had been added. But what exactly it was, she didn't want to think about right now. Mu Qianfan was wide awake. He mostly fed Hiyu the supper. She ate until she was stuffed, then went back to the bedroom and immediately fell asleep, clearly completely at ease with him. Her trust in him had long exceeded his expectations. This was good, truly good. Mu Qianfan tucked Hiyu in, gently closed the bedroom door, went to the living room outside to call Wenjin to clear the dishes, and then returned to the bedroom. Others might chat innocently under the covers, but Mr. Mu couldn't even manage that. Looking at his sweet and peaceful wife sleeping soundly in his arms, he really wanted her. But he couldn't. She was already so tired. If they were to do a round of broadcast gymnastics, with his years of abstinence, would she even be able to get up tomorrow? She could skip the charity gala, but he couldn't bear to put her through such hardship. At least, he should wait a few days for her to recover and regain her strength before indulging himself to his heart's content. He had survived the past 5 years and endured these past few months. What was a few more days? Anyway, she was already hopelessly in love with him. Though it seemed easy enough in his thoughts, in the end, he still had to get up and go outside to catch some cool night air before returning. A woman's allure was truly immense. Having slept too much, he woke up very early the next day. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Mu Qianfan lying quietly beside her, one hand still draped around her waist. To open her eyes and see her man, and for that man to reside in her heart, it felt truly wonderful. You're awake. Mu Qianfan was a light sleeper. Hiyu's slightest movement woke him. Did you sleep well last night? Very well. Seeing Mu Qianfan awake, Hiyu tried to get up, but he pulled her tighter as soon as she moved. Are you still tired now? Mu Qianfan's lips curved into a smile, indicating his good mood. Not anymore. Hiyu leaned into Mu Qianfan's embrace, her heart fluttering. Then stay with me today. Mu Qianfan's tone was infinitely ambiguous. Okay. He was completely defenseless against Mu Qianfan. While the couple shared an intimate moment just getting out of bed, when Jean in another suite was already overwhelmed with work, woken up by a phone call before she even got up. Yesterday, due to Mu Qianfan's willfulness, he took Hiyu away early. The reporters hadn't even seen her, let alone interviewed her. Today, Hiyu successfully made headlines. New model contest champion acts like a diva, disappears after receiving award. New model contest champion dares to act like a diva, who is the backing sugar daddy. Received flowers before the competition, who sent them? Big scoop on Inside Story. Contest champion was actually predetermined. All sorts of negative news targeting Hiyu emerged endlessly. When Jean launched an emergency public relations campaign, trying to resolve it before Mu Qianfan exploded, lest she be caught in the crossfire of his anger. Yang Yi and Yi Luo were also frantic, but each time they called Hiyu's phone, they only heard the automated female voice prompt. Sorry, the subscriber you dialed has switched off. Hiyu had been in a deep sleep, completely oblivious. Ever since Mu Qianfan turned off her phone in the car, she hadn't thought to switch it back on. Otherwise, she wouldn't have slept so peacefully. She would have been woken up long ago. And Li Qiao was also calling Hiyu's phone. Hearing the switched-off message, she grew a little worried. Jingjing, she wouldn't have gotten into trouble, would she? That He Qingwan definitely has ill intentions. Su Wenjing had never seen and Li Qiao care so much about a stranger. She shook her head and said, I can't say for sure about this. After all, I'm not familiar with them. And Li Qiao thought for a moment, then suddenly slapped the table. Let my brothers investigate. She's unfamiliar with the place. She might really have fallen into that little bitch's trap. Su Wenjing asked with a complex expression, Miss, do you really like Miss He that much? But what exactly do you like about her? You're so concerned. This. And Li Qiao was stunned by the question. How would I know? Didn't I tell you before? It's a woman's sixth sense. After saying that, she picked up her phone and called her three brothers one by one, asking them to help find out where Hugh had gone and why she had suddenly disappeared. The three young masters of the Yin family received their sister's calls, each more puzzled than the last. Why did she want to find Hugh? And who is this Hugh? They hadn't heard of her before. They had just found out Hugh's identity, the champion of yesterday's new talent competition, when Li Qiao called again, saying they didn't need to investigate, that it was a wasted effort. This was because she had finally managed to get through to Hugh's phone and learned that he was fine and resting at a hotel. As for why she disappeared yesterday, no explanation was given. This was also thanks to Li Qiao's persistence, having Su Wenjing call Hugh's phone every so often, so Hugh's first call after turning on her phone was from her. Hugh never expected Li Qiao to care so much about her. The moment she answered the phone, hearing an unfamiliar yet clearly anxious voice, she was a bit stunned. When she learned that Li Qiao actually thought she had fallen into He Qingwan's trap, she was even more surprised. Why would a stranger care so much about her safety? This wasn't logical. Even after hanging up, he was still completely baffled. Mu Qianfan saw he still in a daze and asked with concern, What's wrong? Did something happen? He put down her phone and shook her head. No, I just met a very strange person. She seems overly concerned about me. As soon as he heard concerned, Mu Qianfan's eyebrows immediately raised. He quickly explained, It's a woman, and Li Qiao, the eldest daughter of Sheng Group. I met her backstage yesterday, and her attitude towards me was a little strange. He couldn't bring herself to say that Li Qiao had said she liked her, so she simply recounted Li Qiao's behavior yesterday and the content of their recent phone call. And Sheng Group, and Li Qiao. Mu Qianfan murmured the words, then smiled radiantly. Her concern for you means you're very charming, isn't that a good thing? Once he confirmed it was a woman, Mu Qianfan's jealousy temporarily subsided. However, if he knew that Li Qiao wanted to introduce other men to his wife, he would probably want to kill her. His woman already had a man. She didn't need any other men.
He alone was enough.
Hiyu had switched on her phone for a long time, but didn't receive calls from Yang Yi or Yi Luo because Wen Jin was already handling her affairs and had reminded them not to disturb her. Wen Jin's attitude struck both Yi Luo and Yang Yi as very strange. Why would she, a high-ranking chief assistant to the CEO, protect a newcomer like Hiyu so fiercely? But no matter how strange it was, they couldn't ask. Even if they did, when Jean wouldn't answer. She had no obligation to answer their questions. She had too many things to deal with. When Jean was indeed the talent Mu's family had painstakingly cultivated with great expense since childhood. Her efficiency was not only fast but also clean and decisive, very much in Mu Qianfan style. The negative news that had just come out was quickly suppressed, and the trending keywords related to He were promptly replaced. At this point, He knew nothing of this. Mu Qianfan, of course, knew all about these things, but to protect Hiyu, he not only said nothing but also intentionally diverted her attention, taking her out to have fun. The extent to which he could do all this for her truly aligned with her name, Hiyu for, meaning what luck, to meet in this life. She was truly lucky.